Welcome to G2 Kappa. Get to know a person already. Today I'm sitting down with my friend Brandon, aka Dudechair. Thank you, Brandon, for joining me today. I'm excited to talk to you.
Man, it's been a while, and yeah, I'm excited too. It's going to be a good time.
So, Brandon here, of course, going to be the second episode, but I have known you probably going on 3-4 years now. We
Something
met
like
on
that.
the wrestling side of TikTok, where
Yeah.
we were doing like a lot of creative videos, stuff like that. Through that, what got you into TikTok? What got you into content creation?
Uh, I just one day I just stumbled upon, I just stumbled on it, and I the thing that got me into the wrestling part of it was watching Professor and Macho Fan do their run with the U.S. title that they had. And that's how I got into that. But just watching it and wondering what TikTok was, and I finally downloaded it, and I was like, okay, this looks cool. So I just started doing
So,
it.
when you're talking about that, shout out to Miss Professor 318, Nick Harrison, and also Macho Fan Sandy Ravage on TikTok. That's what he's referencing from our wrestling community days. But so Nick, I remember when I first talking to him, he was like such a small creator, and now he's huge. That's
It's huge.
insane.
Yeah.
Ryan Sandy Ravage doesn't even really make videos anymore, but that was such
Mm-mm.
a huge. All those things felt like such a huge thing at the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it felt
It
like the
really
biggest thing
did.
going. But what like I know you're friends with Nick. Like, is that what got you into making the videos for us? Like, what
Yeah.
what were you making any type of content before that on social media or?
I was doing YouTube for a while. I'm trying to slowly get back into that. I did this thing called the Rollin' Wrestling Review Show, and it was a mix between a gaming channel, wrestling review, where I did reviews of like WWE pay per views, and I did a couple of AEW pay per views, um, and it was just a huge mix of all this different stuff, and it just kind of fell off after a while. Like I just stopped doing it because life got busy, work, and all this other stuff, and I'm trying to slowly get back into it. Now that things have kind of calmed down from everything in 2020 to everything else, just trying to get all back into it, and it's been a lot of work. But yeah, I did a little bit of YouTube before that, and that was about all I did.
So was that like a passion of yours? Did you always want to make content, or was that just something for fun?
It started out as something for fun. I saw a lot of people doing it. Back 4 or 5 years ago, I saw a lot of people started doing it, and I wanted to try it, and then it just became a lot of fun for me. It just became something that I liked doing the graphics for it. I liked making the intros, the outros, different things. I like doing all of that, so that just became something fun for me.
So, I mean, obviously, we met through TikTok wrestling community. You did
Yeah.
wrestling reviews and things like that on YouTube. So, when did you become a wrestling fan?
Uh, Probably, and this is going to tell you how old I am. Probably somewhere around 1995. I
Okay.
had a friend of mine. We were in school. We were in like fourth or fifth grade, and he said, "Man, you got to watch this show. It starts at 7. It's WCW Nitro." And he said, "Look," he said, "it's an amazing show, and you gotta check it out." And I actually got to tell the wrestler that I saw on TV first this story like 2 years ago.
Okay.
Sting. I saw Sting's crow gimmick. The first thing I ever saw was his crow gimmick, and he was up in the rafters and he was holding the vulture on his arm, and he was just staring down at the NWO. And after that, I was hooked. I was completely hooked after that.
Love it. I was an early Sting guy. I actually got to do a one-on-one sit-down interview with DDP. So a huge
Nice.
fan of mine from that, or a huge fan of his from that same time.
Yeah.
I did get to sit down and do like a little thing with him many years ago for another project I was working on. But
Yeah.
definitely same time frame. I was huge into that. My first big show I ever went to was a WCW Nitro. Also kind of ages me. But
Nice.
did you ever go to a Nitro? Have you ever gone to like the big shows or?
I didn't go to a Nitro. I know one time they filmed in my hometown for a Nitro, supposedly. But I didn't get to go to that show. I've been to a lot of house shows for WCW, WWE, TNA. So I've been to a lot of house shows, but no, never like a big like recorded show.
Big production. Have you
Yeah.
been to any like indies or anything like that? Have you ever gotten into those?
Yes. We actually have one here in town. It's called Bayou Independent Wrestling. And yeah, we've had a lot of like former WWE guys, WCW guys come through. One of their first shows was I think it had Dr. Death, Steve Williams, as like the main attraction before
Hmm.
he tragically passed away. So we had that here. That's actually how I met Nick, Professor, a long time ago. It's been going. I think it's been around for almost 20 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So did you ever want to like get into the industry, like be an announcer or anything like that, or?
absolutely. Yes, I did. I have wanted to do something pertaining to wrestling for the longest time. Ever since I saw it on TV, I've wanted to do commentary. I've wanted to do ring announcing. I wanted just to do it all, something wrestling related, you know. So this was just, yeah, I've always wanted to do something with wrestling.
That's
Always.
awesome. Because I think you're extremely creative.
Thank you.
I think that you definitely have the charisma for it. Now, obviously, we're on cam, we're sitting down. People may not know, but the name is Dudechair.
Yes.
Also, it was the Rolling Wrestling Review. So
Yes.
obviously, you are wheelchair bound.
Yes,
Obviously,
I am.
so with that, has that provided you any like unique mindset when getting into content creation, or do you feel like you're doing, I talked about this with one of my previous interviewees, Sid, or I talked about
Mhm.
representation. Do you feel like you
Yeah.
get to give that representation to other creators, other fans?
I feel like I do in a way. Obviously the name Dude Chair goes, a long way towards that, and yeah, I feel like I'm getting that out there as far as being in a wheelchair. Sometimes we'll mention the wheelchair thing and throw that in there, whether it's a respect thing or whatever. So yeah, I kind of feel like it's definitely getting the representation that it needs.
Yeah, and I feel like again, it just would have been, I guess I would have been remiss not to mention it just because we did talk about everything else. But I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing I've learned about you and knowing you for the years I have is the fact that I get an appreciation for how much you do and how little you let it limit you in everything you do. So I think in just that, as from an advocacy standpoint, I think that that's huge for anyone that sees you and all the content you create and everything you're doing. That you're just putting out such a great image for everybody that you can do anything you set out to do.
That's that's the main goal, is that it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter what limits you, you can still do it. You know,
Exactly.
um, just be careful what you do, because you could fall while you're doing a TikTok.
I have that same problem.
Yeah.
So something else that I did want to talk about, something that we actually share is, you're talking about Bayou. So obviously
Mhm.
Louisiana boy. Okay.
Yeah.
I did live in Louisiana for about, good 6 months to a year. Now, what I miss about Louisiana, and I'm curious what your take is on this, the food. You can't beat Louisiana cuisine. I love it. What are
You
your
can.
go-tos? What are you hitting up?
Funny enough, I'm actually allergic to crawfish, so it's like all my friends are like, "What in the
I'm not a
world?"
seafood guy, so I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
not a seafood, but I'll eat the potato.
Yeah. 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 I mean, for me, I don't know if this is Louisiana, but Louisiana based, but like shrimp Alfredo is one of my
Mm,
go-tos. Um, Barbecue ribs. I love
okay.
barbecue ribs. I could eat all kinds of barbecue any day of the week. Um,
Do you do any like boudin? You do the boudin sausage?
I did it once, and I
Okay.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't, everybody was like, "Oh, it's so spicy," and no, it's really
Mm,
not. It's really,
no.
really not. To me, it's not. But yeah. I love a lot of different things like spaghetti, pizza. Johnny's Pizza in
Okay.
Louisiana is some of the absolute best pizza you will ever have. I stand on that in a way, but I, I will take that to my grave.
Okay.
Johnny's
But
Pizza is the best pizza.
what is the pizza order though?
It's called Sweep the Kitchen. It's like
Okay.
and it's basically like anything in their kitchen. It's anchovies. And of course I don't get anchovies. I don't get jalapenos, but it's anchovies, jalapenos, mushrooms, pepperoni, hamburger. It's all of it just
That's
mixed
everything.
together.
Are you a thin
It's
crust guy?
so good.
You like what do you like?
It depends. Johnny's is just, I don't know if it's necessarily thin crust. It's not, but theirs is more just like flatbread kind of.
Huh?
So yeah, I mean, it just really depends. I mean, we had Pizza Hut. I don't really know if we have it now, but yeah, I mean, I
Are
love
you
their stuff.
are you in like a real
So
small town, or like what is your? Of course, you don't gotta give me areas, or I'm just curious.
yeah,
Like your
um, well, I live in the Monroe, West Monroe area, kind of where the Duck Dynasty people were.
that's big. Well, because the way you
Yeah,
like pizza, maybe I don't know. It made it sound
yeah,
like you
yeah.
don't got much out there. So I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not originally from Louisiana. I'm from Arkansas. So coming
Okay.
from a small town in Arkansas of like less than 3,000 people to Louisiana, yeah, it's a culture shock, to say the least.
So how
So
old were you when you went from Arkansas to Louisiana?
I was around 9 or 10.
Okay, so you got a little bit of experience growing up in both.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Is there anything about Arkansas you missed, or you remembered as a kid that you really liked, or?
Um, I mean, I mean, yeah. I mean, I miss it all. Obviously, I mean, I miss the small town community that we had. Everybody knew everybody in that town, and it was just everybody knew who I was. They knew, oh, get in the wheelchair. And I hate to say that, but no, everybody knew
No.
me. My grandmother worked at the school I went to when I was younger. And my granddaddy was a school superintendent and a principal in one of the other towns, so everybody knew my collective family. So it was just a very small town community, and I missed that portion of it because I don't know, but like even here, it's still everybody knows everybody in a weird way. It's close to too many people, but everybody still knows everybody.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because that's kind of what I'm going for with this interview show. Like the whole thing of the G2 Kappa, they get to know a person already. So I feel like in today's society, everybody's on their phone. You're in line
Mhm.
somewhere. You're like,
Yeah,
everybody's looking down. They're pretending they're busy. Oh, I'm fake texting someone. People aren't talking to each other. You know what I'm
right.
saying? People aren't getting to know their community and the people that they're around. And like I said, you and I have known each other 3-4 years, something like that. And I wanted to take an opportunity to really get to know you better, like more
Sure.
personal, on a more personal level. So, with that being said, what is something I may not know about you? What's something you're passionate about other than wrestling? Is there anything else that you're
Um,
really into?
yeah, kind of going back to the YouTube thing, it kind of got me into graphic design.
Okay.
I love doing just like graphic editing where I take a picture and then like manipulate it to do something else and stuff that people gave me to work on. Like a couple of other guys gave me stuff to work on, but I'm really getting into the 3D stuff. I love
Oh,
working in like
okay.
Blender. Um, what's some other ones? After
I've used
Effects,
Blender before
Photoshop.
for sure. I made like
Yeah,
because you can make like intros and stuff like that. I used to make like
yeah,
the old school like generic YouTube intros where it'd say your
yeah,
name and it would like bounce around and all that stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I used to do all this.
yeah.
Who are some of your influences? Because we've mentioned YouTube a few times. Who are the content creators you were watching over on YouTube?
Oh goodness. Guys like Chris Dinker, watched him a bunch. It's gonna make me sound like a real nerd. Good Mythical Morning was something I watched.
Bro, Rhett and Link, love it. I've
Oh my
watched it
god,
for like over 10. They've been what, 15 years now, something like that.
almost 20.
I was gonna say I've been watching
Really
it for
now?
a long time. I can't remember.
Yeah,
They're one of my inspirations for creating content.
yeah, same.
So
And a group that I'm into now, because I got into D&D like a year ago, is Critical Role. It's a
nice.
bunch of voice actors
Oh, if
that
you
play
can
D&D.
tell this, can you see that I'm wearing a D&D shirt? These are dice inside the flowers. A D12, D20.
I didn't
That's a
notice that, and
D20
that's
right there.
awesome.
I just came from a D&D game before this interview. That's why I was running a little
Nice,
late. I just came from a D&D game. So
nice, very cool. Yeah,
see,
so
that's
I
the commonalities, man. This is the stuff I'm talking about. That stuff
yeah,
like we never knew that linked
no,
us. You
no,
know what I'm saying?
yeah, and yeah, but those guys just inspire me to do a bunch, and
Okay.
the whole voice acting thing is something I'm definitely trying to get into now. So
What would you
pretty
want to do if you got into voice acting? Would you want to do like anime or what would you look to
cool.
do?
It's funny. I'm actually doing a project right now. The teaser just dropped for it. It's a Star Wars fan like audiobook. It's completely
Okay.
fan written by another TikToker, Element 7. He's doing that, and I'm playing one of the characters. I'm not going to tell you who because I mean it hadn't dropped yet, but um, but yeah. So I'm kind of delving into that. But yeah, like I would just be up for like anything. I mean, I would love to do like video game characters.
Okay.
Um, you know, anime if they call for that, I would do it. But I'm really into video games too, so I would love to like voice a video game character.
So if you had one character that you could pick from a show or from a video game or something that you could choose to
Mm.
voice, who would it be?
Mm. Phew. Um. Okay. It's kind of ended now, but back in the day, I would have loved to have voiced Commander Shepard from Mass Effect, from the
I
Mass
was
Effect
gonna say the name
trilogy.
sounds familiar. Yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
the game where, like, when you completed it, the next one like carried on the
Yes.
storyline of like what your choices were? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Either him or Garrus. Garrus Vakarian was one of the other characters. That was like my best friend in the entire game. Like me and him, it was like I always took him on missions with me.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I've always thought doing voiceovers was cool. Like I've always done goofy voices, but I've never. It takes a lot of work. I never realized how like intense that is.
Yeah, it can be a lot of work. That's one of the things I'm learning is that when I did my voiceover for the project I'm currently doing, the next day, I mean, I could barely just like talk. I mean, I walked around, my voice was all raspy. Yeah, it was rough, but it's a process.
Okay. So going back to something we were just talking about, because we kind of hit a bunch of topics now that I want to peel into a little bit.
Sure.
But so you said you recently got into D&D, so you've been doing Critical Role. So are you in a game currently? Are you playing at all, or what is
Yes.
the?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm playing with a
so
couple of guys from the community actually.
what class are you?
We've actually got two campaigns going on right now. One is
Okay.
a main campaign, and the other is a one shot. Right now, I'm a paladin in the main campaign.
Okay.
Um, I'm a paladin warlock in the main campaign. Shout out to Ford from Critical Role Campaign 2.
That's a mix.
Travis
Okay.
Willingham character. And then in the other one, I am a blood hunter.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that. Is that like a new I played old school edition D&D. I
Okay.
played like 3.5. So if it's from like 5th edition, I don't know as
Yeah.
much about that
It's
stuff.
it's it's fifth edition. The Blood Hunter class is Critical Role actually. They have their own homebrew kind of thing, and they've involved it into the D&D app, the D&D Beyond. They involved it in that, and it's mine is kind of a cross between uh, a blood hunter and a shooter, basically. Um, so it's kind of like a vampire slash shooter, kind of.
Okay. That actually
Think
sounds
Blade.
awesome.
Think Blade. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay. All right. So going back again to something else, we were talking about Good Mythical Morning.
Yeah.
Well, like Good Mythical Morning, I know what my favorite type of segments are, but I want to influence your answer in this. What are your favorite episodes of Good Mythical Morning? Like when you see this type of video come out, what are you looking for?
Like, are we talking segments or episodes?
Yeah, like their main type of episodes. Like I could give you an example if you'd like.
Okay.
So like Will It Hot Pocket. I used to love
Will
those
It.
episodes. Yeah,
I
I
love
was gonna
those.
say. Yeah.
I love Willets. I love the darts when they play. Where in the
And
world
they
does
get
it come from?
nowhere
Yeah,
near where it's supposed to be.
I love those. Where they have like different like one food lined up and they have to guess which one comes from which company or whatever.
Yeah.
I love those. I'm just trying to think of the latest ones I've seen because I haven't really watched the latest season, and that's on me. But
Well, I think they just started back up like not that long ago because they always
yeah,
take that break over like summer into whatever. So
yeah, because I think Red has like what, 3 children.
yeah, they each have something. I forget.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's why they take the summers off is to spend with their kids.
Well, so I remember this was watching many years ago. They would talk about they've been best friends since they were kids, right?
Yeah.
So they're together all the time. They work together. They've been best friends. Like their
Yeah.
families are like commingled, everything. And they were like, we basically just didn't and be able to be around each other and like maintain our friendship and whatever is we have to have this time apart. Like in order to not hate each other, we have to have this time apart.
I get that.
Yeah, totally get it. But I feel like we're on the same wavelength because I always love the Willet videos.
Yeah.
I would always download those if I had to take a flight somewhere so I could watch them on the YouTube app or whatever. So.
Yeah, it's like if I know like a buddy of mine watches it, which I know you watch it, so I could be like, okay, let's make a bet. When will Link grow up?
So, did you ever watch the hot pepper episodes when they first did like the ghost pepper challenges? I used to enjoy it. Speaking of like throwing up, I just remember I'm trying to. They did a couple of them, but I remember one, and he's just like sitting there like punching the air because he was like so messed up from the pepper.
I think that was the Carolina Reaper episode.
Yeah. But I'm like, that's hilarious. I love that.
Like was like, don't punch nothing, and like, I have to do something.
When I feel so cringy. I don't know if you feel the same way. You ever look back at your old content, like the first stuff you ever made,
100%.
and like when I was real early into making videos, I made a video about who inspired me to make videos.
Yeah.
And I made a video about Good Mythical Morning, and I'm like, oh, that was so cringy. Like no one will ever see that. It's hidden now from the internet, but I'm like, it was still cringy when I made it.
Yeah, I did that with my first TikTok video the other day. It's like, oh.
I feel like, but then you see how much you've grown. You know what I mean? You see how far you've come, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So if you were to get back into making YouTube content, have you ever thought about doing stuff that's more along the lines of Good Mythical Morning versus like wrestling content?
Me and a buddy of mine actually did something close to that a long time ago. We did a baby food challenge. Because he was him and his wife were expecting their first child, and it was one of my best friends. And I was like, well, hey, let's do this on my YouTube channel. He's like, okay, I'm in. And it's still up, and you can still watch it. It was one of the worst videos I think either one of us have ever done because it was awful. It was just awful. I mean, both of us by the end of it were just like, okay, we're done. Where's a bucket?
I was gonna say, I don't think baby food is really what I'm trying to put out on the internet. I feel like I would not have a fun time with that.
Yeah, so no, I mean, I would love to get back into just doing the wrestling content, the wrestling reviews, the gaming. Oh man, I miss doing that online. Just doing, like, I know everybody's into Twitch now, and that's one thing I have not done is Twitch.
Why not?
Just haven't gotten into it. I have a Twitch account. I watch you and other people.
I would watch. If you make the Twitch, I'll watch.
Thank you.
I'll link it here. We'll get it going. Well, okay, so we got Mass Effect. Okay. Yes. Obviously, you must have been into wrestling games, but what else are you playing?
Right now, I am still
just favorites.
Favorites. Well, I tell you, one of my current favorites is the Spider-Man Insomniac games. Love Spider-Man 1. I love the Miles Morales game. Currently playing Spider-Man 2 still. WWE 2K games. Ever since 2K took them over. And I love the THQ versions, but ever since 2K took them over, it's just been leaps and bounds. Just phenomenal.
What's your go-to mode for 2K?
My career.
My career? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's because of the whole, I can't be a professional wrestler in real life. So let me do it in my career and just let me go, I was
a GM mode guy. That's why I was curious. I was like GM mode.
Yeah, I have not played the new GM mode in 2K yet. But I did play it in THQ, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, like NBA 2K, I'm a huge 2K guy.
Who's your team?
NBA 2K, WWE.
Who's your NBA 2K, like your 2K team?
The New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay, so that way they can actually have a winning season. Is that what you're playing them in 2K so they can be champions? Is that what we're going for?
That's low.
Hey man, I can live off the Bulls dynasty forever. They never have to be good again. Okay.
And look, the Bulls dynasty. That was one of my favorite eras. Was the Bulls. Loved Jordan, Pippen, Rodman. Loved all those guys back then. But yeah, right now it's the New Orleans Pelicans, just because, yes,
Okay.
I want to try to give them a winning season.
Are you a big sports guy at all, or like?
I'm a football guy.
Okay,
I
Saints.
love football. Yeah, Saints, baseballs, Red Sox. I'm
Okay.
just kind of all over the place with like different teams. Uh,
But if you had like if you could only pick one sport to watch, it'd be football.
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously being in Louisiana, I mean, football's like our big thing. So
Okay.
yeah, the Saints for sure.
Well, I was gonna say, figured it had to go. If you're repping the Pelicans and not the Saints, then we got
Yeah,
some
yeah,
questions. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So I do want to jump into kind of a segment. You used to call it the lightning round. It's not really a lightning round because it's not like super rapid.
Okay.
It's just here's some different types of questions and some things I may just want to know. Some of them are a little more ridiculous. Some are not. One, actually, I almost Babe Ruth called this based
Okay.
off of something that we had in our conversation. If you could be a mythical creature, what would it be?
Ooh. Uh. Let me see. I haven't really thought about that, but I guess off the top of my head, probably a Pegasus or something.
Okay. I would not
Who,
expect that. Okay.
who
Interesting.
did you think?
I don't know. I just if you would have had
Oh,
me guess 10 mythical creatures,
yeah.
Pegasus just would not have been. I don't know.
Well, okay, all right. Let me go back and yeah, because Pegasus is like, eh. Um,
If that's what
Minotaur.
it is, don't let me influence
Minotaur.
it.
No,
Okay,
Minotaur.
Minotaur is dope. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Minotaur. Yeah, I don't know why that escaped me at the time.
I'm gonna edit that out and make sure everybody knows Pegasus was.
Bro, come on.
No, that's a good answer though. Okay, so something we didn't really get into is so TV shows. Are you watching any TV shows? Like, what is your big like go to?
I mean, obviously, being a wrestling fan, it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT.
Okay,
Um, but I haven't watched a lot of TV recently,
okay,
just because I watch a lot of YouTube now. So it's like mostly it's just Critical Role on the TV, just watching Campaign 2.
that's
Trying to get through
acceptable.
that. I'm fixing to start Campaign 3. But back when I watched a lot of TV, it was Law and Order. It
Okay.
was one of my favorite shows back in the day was CSI New York.
Oh,
I love CSI New York. Love that show. Um, let's see what else. Trying to think off the top of my head.
well, it's like
Watched a lot
Law
of
and Order.
ESPN.
You got CSI, so you're into like the
Yeah,
criminal like suspense,
yeah,
the
yeah,
procedurals. Okay,
yeah.
kind of goes away from my next question, which was
Okay.
if you had a sitcom named after your life, what would it be? But just what if you were going to be in one of your crime procedurals? Which one would you want to see yourself as a main character in?
Probably CSI.
CSI New York.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And as far as a sitcom, rolling with the punches.
Roll with. I dig that. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, would fit well into Critical Role.
Yes, it
Just a
would.
different role.
Yes, it
You
would.
know,
There you
I
go.
feel like that works well. Um, if you could instantly know everything about one topic, what would it be?
Uh, hmm. Wrestling.
Wrestling. Okay. Out of
Yeah, I
anything in
would
the
love to know
world, you'd
just
still pick wrestling.
or wrestling or football.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
What would you do with that knowledge if you knew everything there was to know about wrestling or football? What would you? How would you put that to good use?
I would probably start like a page or a just a social media account based around the history of wrestling,
Okay.
even from like the early days of like Greco-Roman to you know how it transitioned from that into professional wrestling,
Okay.
stuff like that.
So I feel like your answer to the next one it can easily be tied to this, and most likely will be. But
Okay.
it's if you were a museum curator, like we
Mhm.
had Brandon's museum, and you could literally feature anything, do anything. What would the museum be, and what would you feature?
Okay, this is going to be a different answer. Like I said, I'm a
Okay.
mixed bag.
Okay.
I would have probably the history of wheelchairs
Oh. Okay.
from the early days of the ones that you had to push around that you couldn't, you had to have somebody push you around to even now. I mean, the one I have now is leaps and bounds from the one I had when I was a kid. Um, the one I had as a kid compares nothing to this one. Um, and just the history of how, they started to where they are now. Because to where they are now, from the electric wheelchairs to the manual wheelchairs, are just phenomenal.
That is like so interesting to think about because it's something I would take for granted. I would have no idea anything in the history of that, or
Yeah,
like what goes into even, updating or upgrading the technology for that, even for like the manual ones. Like
yeah.
there's probably so much that has changed in the time.
Man, honestly, the other day, I actually saw a link. It showed up on my Facebook page for wheelchair football.
It's very common. It's a big thing.
Yeah, like I wish we had that locally. I know there's one in New Orleans, but I wish we had that locally. I know there's one in Dallas.
I know
Uh,
wheelchair basketball is a big thing too.
yeah, I actually almost got into wheelchair basketball when I was younger, but it didn't pan out. But I did track when I was in high school, so that was fun. Um, but yeah, just I would love to get into that stuff, wheelchair sports, just in general.
Do you have like is there any kind of community in your area? Do you know anybody else like in wheelchairs that is near you? Like, do you know
I,
like because I often wonder if that's like
yeah, I know one other person. We've been friends for a long time. We've been friends since probably junior high school. Um, and we're both in the sports community, kind of. We're both wrestling fans. Um, yeah, I mean, I could probably talk to him and be like, hey, of anything we could do? And he could probably talk to someone and be like, let's do this. You know, um, Even in college, they had an intramural flag football league, and almost got into that, but it didn't pan out.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there, if you're watching this, that wants to do this. Let me know.
Hit me up. Leave a comment down below.
Hit me up. Leave a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just I'm sure there's probably one or two guys I could talk to that would be interested. But then again, they've got their own stuff going, so I don't know.
No. I'm not trying to set nothing up. View count is not liable for any whatever, blah blah blah. Yeah. Just curious, because like
Yeah.
again, that's something that I would take for granted, that being able to find a community of individuals that would be able to do that, or like that would
Sure.
even be interested in that. It's something again is what makes you unique, like this is something, and I would love to talk about this more. I definitely want to have you on again as we're wrapping up here, because
Love
I
this.
feel like there's so much more we can talk about.
Sure.
And while it is not representative of you, I feel like that it is a topic we barely broached in here. That
Sure.
is something we could talk about as far as advocacy and just other topics related to it in life and existence. But so there is one thing I would like to know from you though, and
Yeah.
that is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice that I was ever given: don't let anything hold you back. Don't let anything hold you down. You know, Even though you may have a disability, even though you may have this blocking your path in life, don't let it hold you back. If you set your mind to something, you can do it. And that was
I
given to
love
me
that.
by my mom.
Very wise woman.
Yes, she is.
I believe in that 100%. I believe our biggest obstacle in life is ourselves.
Yes,
I think we stop ourselves more
absolutely.
than anybody else ever will.
It's all up here.
Exactly. And then the last question I have before I'll kind of wrap up here is, I've been asking absolutely everybody, the whole thing with G2 Kappa. Let's get to know a person already. I want to get to know really anybody. And so far, I have been interviewing in these initial episodes people I already kind of know and have had relationships with. But I'm looking for more people to interview. So is there anyone you can think of that you could connect me to that you think would be interested and interesting? That's the way I'm looking at it. That you would recommend. And it could be anybody, big or small. It could be somebody, just a friend of yours in real life that you're like, oh, they'd probably dig doing a podcast. Is there anybody you can think of that you would recommend that you'd be like, oh, they'd be a good interview?
Yeah. Actually, my friend Amber.
Okay.
You know her as Marisol.
Marisol? I was going to say, I'm
Yeah,
assuming
from
Marisol.
NGT.
Okay. No.
Yeah. She would be probably totally up for doing these kind of things. Anybody in, again, going back to that wrestling community, anybody in that Trinity of Darkness group that I had,
Okay.
that I have, it's a stable
Yeah.
in the wrestling community. Chris, or Jackson.
I'll reach out. He actually just reached out to me, but yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
pretty much everybody that's there. I will be reaching out to at some point to
Perfect.
get on the show.
Any of those
so that's
guys.
a perfect example. Yeah, that's a perfect example. Marisol will definitely reach out to you. I think I've only talked to her once, so that would be a good one to actually talk to her to get to know her.
Any of those guys.
So I'll throw it on there. I'll reach out. I'll have to be like, hey, Brandon, threw your name in the hat.
Oh, she's
see
gonna
how she
kill
picks
me.
up. She's also Louisiana based, right?
Yeah, she actually lives like 20 minutes from me. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, it's
so
easy for her when she finds this episode. It's easy for her to drive to my house and go, "What have you done?"
Well, hopefully that's not the experience that she has, but hopefully, speaking of experience, hopefully you enjoyed this experience. I enjoyed having some time to spend with you and kind of get to know you a little bit better. I would love to have you back on in the future if you'd be open to that. Okay, that way we can talk about some more stuff. But if you guys enjoyed this, let us know in the comments down below. Also, please put in there not only people you'd like to see me interview in the future, but some more questions for Brandon for the next time he's on, because he absolutely will be on again. And the one piece of advice I can give you is get to know the people around you, the people in your life, the people you think you know, but maybe you haven't gone beyond skin deep. Get to know a person already. Thank you again, Brandon, for coming on. Is there anything you want to shoot out before we end here?
Not that I can think of.
I'll put your TikTok in the description so people can check your TikTok.
That works for me, man.
All right, cool. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back next week. Bye.